There's a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. It stays even when nothing is happening, even when the body is rested, even when the day hasn't started yet. It isn't always dramatic. It can be quiet, almost boring, but it's there. And because it's there, people often start looking for a reason. Maybe you did too much. Maybe you're just stressed. Maybe you need a break. And sometimes those guesses make sense. But sometimes, even when life is calm, the tiredness doesn't lift. You can still show up. You can still answer messages. You can still do what needs to be done. But inside, something feels thin, like existing takes more effort than it should. Not in a way that always has words, more like a feeling in the background, a sense of again. Again you have to be a person. Again you have to respond. Again you have to hold yourself together in small ways all day. For many people, this is the part that feels confusing, because nothing bad enough is happening. From the outside, things can look normal, sometimes even good, and that can create a strange kind of guilt. A guilt that sits on top of the tiredness, like you're not allowed to feel this way, like you should be grateful, like you should be fine. So you keep it private. You call it fatigue. You call it being drained. You call it a rough week. Anything that sounds easier than the truth. Because the truth can sound too heavy when you say it out loud. Not, I want everything to end. More like, I'm tired of having to exist like this right now. And that sentence, for many people, doesn't come from one moment. It comes from a slow build, from days that required more than they gave back, from emotions you kept inside because it felt safer, from being the one who stays steady even when you're not. A lot of this tiredness starts in the body. Before it becomes a thought, it becomes a feeling. A tightness in the chest when you wake up, a heaviness behind the eyes, a nervous system that doesn't fully settle even in silence. Sometimes you're not even thinking anything negative. You're just braced. Like part of you is preparing for the day to cost something. And over time, that cost adds up. It can look like nothing, but it feels like everything. Because it's not only the work you do, it's the inner work, the constant adjusting, the constant swallowing, the constant being careful. For many people, this started early, not in an obvious, dramatic way, just in small, repeated moments. Learning what was allowed, learning what got attention, learning what got shut down, learning how to be easy to be around. So you became good at reading rooms, good at sensing moods, good at not asking for too much. And that kind of skill can help you survive, but it can also make life feel like performance, even when you're loved, even when people mean well, because you're still managing yourself, still choosing the right words, still keeping things light, still making sure you don't become too much. And when you live like that for long enough, you don't always feel sad. You feel tired. Not the kind of tired that says, I need sleep. The kind of tired that says, I need relief. Sometimes the tiredness shows up in how you relate to people. You may pull back a little, not because you don't care, but because being present feels expensive. Texting back feels like a task. Small talk feels like lifting something heavy. Even being around people you like can feel like you're spending energy you don't have. And then you feel guilty again, because the people are good. The people are right. So why do you still feel alone? For many people, it's because loneliness isn't only about having people. It's about feeling met. And when you're tired like this, You might not even know what met would feel like anymore. You just know that something inside you is untouched. Like everyone is talking to the version of you that functions, while the real you is sitting quietly somewhere behind that. And maybe you've made it that way, not on purpose, just out of habit. Because for a long time, being honest didn't feel simple. So you became someone who handles things, someone who doesn't need much, someone who keeps going. And people learned to trust that. They learned you'll be okay, even when you're not. Sometimes, the hardest part of this tiredness is how invisible it is. Because you might still look fine, you might still work, still joke, still post, still show up. So no one thinks to ask deeper questions. And even if they did, you might not have the words. Because it doesn't feel like a story. It feels like weather. A low sky that doesn't move. If this video is landing somewhere tender for you, and you want to stay connected to this kind of space, you can like or follow. Only if it feels meaningful. Not as a promise to feel better. Just as a quiet way of staying close to words that make things feel
This tiredness has a hidden grief inside it. Not always grief for something that happened, sometimes grief for what never happened. The comfort you didn't get, the softness you didn't receive, the feeling of being fully held without having to earn it. Maybe no one meant to withhold it. Maybe they were doing their best. But your body still noticed. Your body still adapted. You learned not to expect too much, not to want too loudly, not to reach when it might not be met. And that adaptation can follow you into adult life. You may be surrounded by love, but still feel alone in certain rooms. You may have people, but still feel like there's no place to put the heaviness. So it stays in you. And when something stays in you long enough, it starts to feel like you. Like this is your personality. Like this is your nature. But often, it's just what you've been carrying. For many people, the tiredness isn't sudden. It's the moment the body stops pushing. It's the moment the nervous system says quietly, "I've been holding too much for too long." And that can look like losing motivation, or getting easily irritated, or feeling numb, or needing more space than usual. Not because you're becoming a worse person, but because something in you is trying to protect what's left. Trying to reduce the strain, trying to survive in a softer way. This is why some people feel tired of existing right now. Not because life has no meaning, but because they've been living in a way that costs too much internally. And maybe they didn't even notice the cost until the bill arrived. If you want to share something in the comments, you can. Maybe a sentence that felt true. Maybe a feeling you didn't have words for before. Maybe just, "I get it." Not to explain yourself, just to leave a small sign for someone else who's been carrying the same quiet weight. Because this kind of tiredness can feel isolating, but it's more common than people admit. And it doesn't mean you're broken. It often means you've been strong in ways no one saw. You've been holding life together from the inside. And right now, something in you is asking for less war, less performance, less forcing. Not a perfect solution, just a little more room to breathe inside your own existence. Even if nothing changes overnight, even if the tiredness doesn't vanish, there's something relieving about realizing this feeling didn't come out of nowhere, and you didn't become this way for no reason. Sometimes you're not weak. You're just tired. And being tired in a world like this is not a personal failure. It's a human response.